Hey folks, sorry I'm not in class today. I'm out for another set of meetings, but this one should be the last one I have to do this year. So, with me not being here, we're going to be practicing the stuff we worked last class on, which was graphing linear inequalities with our dotted line and solid line, and shading our half plane wherever our solution set is. So, hopefully at this point you've already grabbed one of these sheets. It says Algebra 1 Intermediate, and what we're going to do is we're going to go over a few of your homework problems. You had 6 to do. We're going to go over, I think, 3 together right now before you get started on the classwork to make sure that you still have all your ducks in a row and you're ready to get going. So, number 1 on your homework, okay, whether you have it done or not, I really want you to be focused, look, see if you made some mistakes or not. The first thing, if we're asked to graph this, is we're going to determine whether or not it is a dotted line or a solid line. And that is determined by looking at this symbol right here. This is a greater than symbol. There's no equal to underneath, which means that our line is going to be dotted. It is not part of our solution set. Now we're going to check and see if the origin is going to fall in our solution set. Meaning, is it true that our origin works, or is it going to be false, which means we shade where the origin is not. So I'm going to plug in 0 for each of my values for x and y. So if I do that, I'm going to have 0 for y is greater than 0 plus 3, or 0 is greater than 3. And I can see right now that this is false. I'm going to use this information, okay, to help me figure out the shading in my graph. Now I'm going to go and actually be able to graph this and do so appropriately. Here, if I notice, this is in slope-intercept form. I can recognize my slope attached to my x and my y-intercept. Like always with graphing, I start with graphing my y-intercept. So I'm going to start at 3. 1, 2, 3, and put a dot. My slope pattern, even though it's invisible, in front of this is a 1 over 1. So I'm going to go up 1, forwards 1, up 1, forwards 1, up 1, forwards 1. I'm going to fill my graph generally with dots. That way it's going to be obvious when I do my shading what is and is not going to work. So now that I've done that, I see I need to make my line dotted. I'm not just going to connect them. I need to make a dotted line here. So arrow on one end, dot it up. Okay. Now, I also did some work. I know that 0, 0, my origin, right here, okay, this is false, meaning that my solution set does not include this point. My solution set then has to be everything on the other side of this line. So I'm going to shade above the line. Okay. And this would be an appropriate graph of y is greater than x plus 3. Now let's look at one that doesn't have an x. This one was tricky. I'm sure all of you were a little confused when it came to this one. Okay, but it was the only one that didn't include an x with it. So, just like before, we're going to start by determining if our line is solid or dotted. Looking at this symbol again, I see that it's going to be a solid line, because the line can also equal a solution. So solid line, I'm going to plug in 0, 0 to find if my origin is going to be part of my solution set or not. If I do that, I plug in 0 for x. Well, there's no x, so I don't worry about it. 0 for y. I get that 0 is greater than or equal to negative 8. And this is true. 0 is bigger than every negative number. True. So 0, 0 should be included in my shaded region. Now I'm going to graph this. Now this is where a lot of you might have stumbled. You probably knew your first dot was going to be down at negative 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What you may not have known is that our slope here is 0. Okay, it's not a positive slope, meaning it's going up. It's not a negative slope. Because x doesn't exist, its coefficient is 0. A nice flat line. Okay? So we're going to do a horizontal line that is going to be solid at this negative 8. Every time you have y in a constant number, your result is going to be only a horizontal solid line. If you had x and a number and that's it, you're going to have a vertical line. Your slope would be undefined. And we talked about that, how the little guy would fall off and be in a bunch of little pieces on the ground, meaning he was undefined or undefinable. So, my line is plotted, it's solid, looking good. I need to look where 0, 0 is, knowing that that is part of my solution set. So 0, 0 is here. meaning everything above this line, including the 0, 0, is going to be part of my correct answer. So everything above this, I know you can't see it very well with the green marker, everything above and including the line, because it's solid, is part of our solution set. Now there were 2 problems on your homework that were a little bit trickier, and those numbers were 3 and 6. We're going to do 6 right now because the formatting of it is a little bit more complicated. Again, that's number 6 on our homework. The reason why this one's a little more complicated is because it's not put into our slope-intercept form. We can't easily recognize our M. We cannot easily recognize our B right now. Okay? We have an idea of what they are, but we're not sure what the exact values are quite yet until our Y is alone and positive, so we need to isolate it. To get our Y alone, I'm going to subtract X from each side. I now don't just have Y here, I have a negative Y. So, to get rid of this negative, I'm going to divide by negative 1. Divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1. Now, last class we talked about this. What you divide on one side, you have to divide to all parts of the other side. It's not just like to the X or to the 4. It has to be sent to each of these 2 pieces. So if we do that, we divide it by a negative, so we flip our sign. 4 divided by negative 1 is a negative 4. And negative X divided by negative 1 is a positive X. Now it's a little more recognizable. Our slope, 1 over 1, and our y-intercept of negative 4. So, this time if you want, we can graph the line first and then figure out if it's dotted or solid. I can tell you right now, looking at that, it's going to be solid. Okay? So I'm going to start at negative 4, right here. I'm going to go up 1 over 1. Both directions fill out my graph pretty nicely. Again, it has the equal to, so it's going to be a nice solid line. We haven't done our work for shading, so let's do that now. We're going to plug in 0 for X and 0 for Y. I could plug it in here, but I could also plug it into my original. So if I do that, I would have 0, minus 0, our symbol, and then a 4. 0 minus 0 is 0. Symbol 4 is 0 less than or equal to 4. Well, yeah, that's true. Okay? Meaning this is going to be part of our solution set. It is true, and it works in this situation. So everything above this, or to the left of it, would be part of our solution set. Okay? Take some time. I know it says out of the 6 problems, I want to save some time and go over the 3, so just say, really, out of the 3 problems, how did you do? Write me a note. Tell me about graphing. Did you graph the lines correctly, at least? Did you know if it was solid or dotted? Shading's a little different. Fill out the shading box. Okay, did you shade it correctly? Did you mess up the true-false? Are you still confused about this symbol? Give me some feedback. Tell me where you're at so that when we come back next week, I can make sure you get the support you need. Otherwise, folks, finish this sheet, staple your homework if you haven't finished to the sheet, hand it into the sub, and he'll give you your classwork. You have a sheet for classwork, you have a sheet for homework. If you get the classwork done, you get the homework. You might have no homework for the long weekend. Otherwise, if you goof off all class, which sometimes happens, I'm hoping not this time, but if you goof off, you waste your time, you're going to have double homework. 2 sheets, 2 grades, 2 zeros right at the end of the year is not what you want to have. So, work hard, do your best. Use this video or our other flipped lesson as a reference if you need it, okay? So, good luck. I hope you all behave. Please, good report for next week, okay? Thanks.